So my view of anarcho capitalism is something mixed. I'm not entirely clued up on how the system operates with regards to crime, etc., and I fall just short of anarchy. I do believe that there is a role for government. I do know that they adhere to what's known as the non-aggression principle, and that's something I do, take interest to, because I do agree with it in many regards. It's a case that you live and let be, as long as you don't infringe upon another individual's rights. I agree to that principle. My concern is the fact that you will always get these communist countries that prop up. There's no such thing as this perfect world where we could have every nation turn towards a capitalist system, and it's a case of how you would actually defend against that. Some would argue that a military under anarcho-capitalism would be able to deal with such a thing. In terms of the economics, I agree with what the Mises Institute argue. You could look at the 19th century, for example. They do have very strong arguments. A good example of that would be you cannot touch the ratio of money. The first national bank came around, and then they started to try to fix the ratio, and it wiped gold out of the market. And then in 1834 they tried it again, and it wiped silver out of the market. So you can't touch the ratio, you can't touch the interest rates. Corporate subsidies don't work. It just results in an incompetency. It results in bankruptcy. So the protectionist tariffs as well, that's another thing that it resulted in throughout history, it resulting in war. So that's the thing that kind of stumps me, because I'm kind of in between. I do not support an income tax, as you know, because it's not something you consent to. Consent is something that's written permission. There never was written permission to things like the income tax. As you know, before 1913 there was taxation to some degree. There lies the issue, because if I was to support the minarchist position, there would have to be some form of tax to some degree. It intrigues me, and I know that a free market would work. That's not my issue, but it's that position that I feel concerned of how they would deal with that of criminals. It's not just a case of what Sweden's doing or Norway, where they think they can rehabilitate them. I don't know where they seem to get this idea from. You can rehabilitate these pedophiles, etc. That isn't the case. Maybe you disagree with me, that's fair enough. If you've got a disagreement, please explain to me in the comment section below. A good few years ago, the person that explained the anarchist position to me on this issue gave an entirely different answer. And then recently, someone who follows me gave a very different answer. And I would actually agree with my follower. Actually described it as punishment through death sentence. I think that's rightful. Certain people who pose a threat to people in life. So you could say that I'm someone who agrees with a lot of what they have to say. And you will find that on my channel, most of the stuff that I argue is on, the economic arguments, and that's what I would agree with them on. I'd like to read from what other people think on that issue on property rights, because you always hear this argument prop up that, you need a government to enforce these property rights, etc., etc. So what is your answer to that? I don't think there's anything perfect of any system. The state should never have involvement in the marketplace. So I do strongly agree with the Mises Institute on those arguments. I'm someone who does, to a degree, I respect something put in place like what the US Constitution was. Now you could use the argument, okay, it was supposed to bind the government to hold it in place. It did to some degree, but over years the Constitution became abused. So that's what I mean. Well, one of the ways that I believe in which you tackle these problems is education. Now, the 19th century was a very different time period. Society hadn't yet been through the likes of communism, etc. I do believe with the age that we're living in, with the internet, people are becoming better informed. Not all people, but a lot of people are. Well, if one of those communist countries were to ever invade, I don't know how such a country living under anarchy would be able to hold up to that. I do believe that a country does need strong defence. Let me know what you think of the whole thing, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thank you for watching, and I shall talk to you later. Cheers.